Welcome again to our third season of Let's Talk Music RVA. My name is Charles Mans, and my co-host here is Mr. Bill McGee.
Hello, everybody. I'm Bill McGee, Charles Mans' right-hand man.
So, Bill, so far about Let's Talk Music, what do you think we're doing here? Here we go again, another round.
Yeah, we had some fun before. We got to just keep our little technical things worked out, and we'll be all right. I think we'll have some fun again this year.
Oh yeah. I think there are a lot of people looking forward to this, as so am I. Okay, Bill, so now you finally got that CD project done that you've been working on for a little bit.
Wow.
And I've heard the CD. I've listened to the CD 3 times back to back, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. I was impressed with the special guest you got there. So tell us a little bit about the Tree of Life.
Well, Charles, I truly appreciate those comments coming from you. I know it took me away from our broadcast. I had been working on this album, my 5th album, for at least a year. I run a record label called the 804 Music Group, and under the 804 Music Group is this 804 Jazz record label. And here at the 804 Music Group, we have a recording studio. And so I had a lot of people come over, and then a lot of people sent in their music. The first record on here is Flight Time, the Donald Byrd cover that I did. And I reached out to Kevin Toney, that used to be with the Blackbirds. Clarence Oliver was able to hook me up with Najee. So Najee is playing flute on it. And then my friend Tom Brown, funking for Jamaica, Tom Brown, Tom had already said that he wanted to work with me on something. So I reached out to Tom Brown. Since Donald Byrd was a trumpet player, I figured I'd get Tom Brown to play with me. So it's Najee, Kevin Toney, Tom Brown, myself, Freddie Fox, excellent guitarist, who was Evelyn Champagne King's husband, and then Christian de Masonis, bass player, who I played on his #1 hit record with Bob James. He's also playing on it. And then there's a young drummer from here in Richmond named Ty Only. Ty is actually has a Grammy that he won because he was the drummer on that thing that Beyonce did with the marching band. And Ty is an awesome drummer, man, Norfolk State, Richmond native, Norfolk State grad. And so all of them actually did their music remotely. S. Bernard Owens sketched the song together for me. Sean Owens, one of my former students, that was on Flight Time. And that came off very well. A lot of people really like it. It was mixed by Christian de Masonis' brother-in-law, Christopher, who is an excellent engineer out of DC, and he mixed it and mastered that tune. Then the second tune on the album is a tune called Life Got in the Way, and it was written by Brandon Lane, the son of Hannon Lane, and Hannon's playing on this song, and Dave Doc Watson from the horn section, Chops, is the featured flautist on this one. And he also plays all the saxophones. So actually, Hannah's playing on it, and Dave is playing all the saxophones. I'm doing all the brass. And then Hannah's son, Brandon, did most, if not mostly all of the music other than what Hannah played. He's a bass player, keyboard player, producer. Then the third song is Summers in Surrey. A young man from Virginia State that was in my class did this rhythm beat. And young people call them beats, right? Right. So he did the beat and sent it to me after I had begged him to send me some of that newfangled stuff these young folk were doing, because I wanted, of course, you want a sound that can fit in, new stuff. You don't want to be sounding all 50-year-old all the time. So he sent me this, and I really loved it. And then I got my friend from Italy, Roberto Tola, to record the guitar part on it, and it really turned out well. And I got Fabian Lance from here in Richmond, and Junie Collins, and a lot of other people. Let's see, Roberto did it, and Junie and Fabian, and I'm trying to remember who did bass on it. Oh, Ken Friend, famous bass player from here in Richmond. That's right. Ken is featured. Ken records with a lot of people, bass player, and he's on there. So that's the Summers in Surrey tune.
How much of those 3 songs you just mentioned was recorded in your studio versus was sent to you remotely?
Of those 3 songs, 40% was done in my studio, and maybe the other 50 to 60% was done somewhere else.
So that is, and we will have a program dealing with that on how the new technology has enhanced compared to where we started many years ago.
Absolutely, absolutely. And right now, that's the trend. If you're a guitar player and you have a really high quality preamp, I can send you a track and you can sit at home in your bedroom and record the guitar part and send it to me. It would be just like you sitting here recording it in my studio.
Right.
So
I've done that with many projects.
Sure.
How I wish I had that 40 years ago.
Oh man, especially considering the different musicians you could get. So the next tune is On and On. It's a ballad, and Sean Bernard Owens, one of my former students, who went to Union and Norfolk State, Kennedy graduate. He had actually released this song on his album. He had an album called The Velvet Room, and it features 2 young people from Kennedy High School who graduated from Kennedy, Kanika McKenzie and Rico Wynn. And his version only featured Kanika. We added Rico as a duet on my version. Sean had done the original track and he sent it to me, and then I added Jesse Pryor and Weldon Hill and E.J. Shaw as acoustic, and we pulled out a lot of the electronic stuff that he had done, and we made it more of a acoustic type. And then I added, of course, the horns and stuff, and then we brought in Rico to do the male vocal on it, and that tune turned out real well. I just got a text message today from a DJ somewhere around the world who said he really, really liked that song and he was playing it on his radio station. That's On and On. Then the next song is Show Is Funky, which was a Ripple remix. A lot of people remember that Ola, Ola, eh.
Right.
Actually, I found out, Charles, it was so interesting. I found out Ripple wasn't, when I was doing the research to credit it, Ripple wasn't the first group to do it, and they had claimed a copyright on it, but I found out that a group called the Mighty Elegant had released it before Ripple. And then Ripple did their version and actually said, well, some people were saying, it's listed as saying that they wrote it, but they didn't write it.
Right.
So I needed a trombone solo on this. I wanted to make it funky because Show Is Funky, that's what you wanted to be funky. And there's no funkier trombone player in the world than Fred Wesley. So I reached out to my friend Fred, who produced the Trussell album. That's how we're connected. And Fred and I actually wrote a song that was on one of Fred's albums too, on his House Party album. And then he produced Trussell's album with Love Injection and all of that. And you actually recorded it before Fred did. You recorded the demo to Love Injection.
Right. On a 4-track.
On a 4-track, right.
That's right.
And then your 4-track is what got us our record deal, believe it.
Well, just for those who can make a point of reference, this was at the old Sahara Club on North Avenue in Richmond, Virginia, upstairs. At that time, it was called the Cozy Cat.
Cozy Cat.
Cozy Cat, and Joe Carter ran it. And upstairs was called the Top Cat. And that's where we recorded Trussell's first Love Injection project that ultimately got them the deal.
And ultimately, that's where I met Joyce that night, and Dwight and Joyce came up with you.
Right.
And Joyce heard our horn section recording and fell in love with the horn section. And from that point on, we were the horn section recording on all of her stuff with Dwight from that point on.
Right.
So that was another hookup that they did. But okay, so Show Is Funky features Fred Wesley and a lot of other musicians in Richmond. The keyboard part in particular.
I don't want to skip this. Joyce you referred to is Fenderella and the
Climax.
lead vocalist and bass player for the group Climax
Right.
on Solar Records. Right. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Okay. So on this record, a lot of this was recorded here in Richmond, but not necessarily in my studio. Hannon has a studio of his own. So he did guitar parts on Show Is Funky. And then Lucy Kilpatrick, keyboard player, is doing organ, clavinet, and electric piano. And
really? Okay.
Yeah, and it's really, Lucy laid into that organ.
She's good. Yeah, she's good.
Yeah, Lucy, I was like, okay, really? And then Robbie Cunningham is featured on vocals, and Rudy Faulkner is also singing on this.
All right.
All of these are Richmond staples, and I think E.J. Shaw is playing. Who's playing bass? Is this? Ronnie Coates. Ronnie Coates is playing bass, drums on this. That's right. Wow. Ronnie Coates is playing drums, and E.J. Shaw's playing bass on it. So then we get to the song that was the first single I've released. It's been out about four going on 5 weeks. It's climbing up the charts right now, and that's a song called Gigi. And that was written by Michael Theory, another musician here who's extremely talented. Michael's keyboard player. And actually, I was listening to a Rick Braun tune. And I think his tune's #1 last week or whatever. And I was listening to it. I said, you know what? I need on this album a tune that features me. I said, because I'm featuring all these other people and all these, spotlight guest people and got all these great other talents. I said, but when you do an album, you need to at least show that you can play something too.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of the purpose of somebody buying it.
Right? You want to do well. I'm in the Norman Connors and Roy Ayers and I'm one of those guys. Remember, Norman Connors played drums and didn't sing, so all his albums featured somebody else. So right. I come out of that bag. Whereas because I'm not a singer. And because people really like to hear saxophones and guitars and flutes and other instruments. I
don't know. You mean Doc Severinsen? They want to hear the trumpet,
right.
Right. So the Bill McGee, we look forward to the little trumpet as well.
Yeah. Well,
or
flugelhorn, right? So on Gigi, I decided to do that, and Michael sent me a tune, and then we elected. I wanted to get my mentee, a young lady named TK Johnson, to play drums. TK just graduated from Berkeley last June and immediately hit the road as a professional drummer. And she's from here in Richmond. She grew up here. So I got her to play drums on it. And she's 21 years old, funky drummer. So she's playing drums on GG and Michael Theory. And then I got Juan Nelson, local bass player. He came in and played bass. I think that's Ross Mel Glover, who is playing guitar on that. Ross Mel, of course, from Awareness Art Ensemble and the Wailers, and just a fabulous guitarist. He's playing on it. And then I got Risegun Olamidon, who is playing percussion. His name is Maurice Bennett. He's from this area. His dad was Coach Bennett down at Virginia State for years. And so we did Gigi, just the rhythm section and myself. And that tune is really well. It's dedicated to my wife. All of my grandkids call her Gigi. And
I see. Very good.
Yeah. So then then I did We Shall Overcome. As you know, I'm the president of the Richmond chapter of Southern Christian Leadership Conference.
And I thought that was a very good rendition too. I really like that.
Thank you.
It actually. I mean, it may become the new theme arrangement for the group, for the organization, because of the influence in the music that you did with it.
Yeah. Well, I called on the Mike Hawkins Trio, and this is really this is the only song that's only got four of us on it. It's the bass, piano, drums, and myself playing the flugelhorn. And we recorded all of that here live, actually. I played. It was real interesting, Charles. I went up into the recording booth with my remote iPad. And I ran the session from the booth while I was recording the flugelhorn part. And so, and the rhythm section was in the studio and I was in the booth. So that was a different thing. So we got that done. But after it was over with, Mike Hawkins, who's the bass player, he has a new album out too that's really good. We need to talk to
Outstanding Mike. Upright bass player. Outstanding. And
he has a great new album out that he's putting out. And I'm working with him, helping him to get his album.
I worked with him on a project for Carlton Ayers.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Michael's a great Virginia State graduate and a great bass player. But he said to me, he said, "Hey, Bill, you ought to do a straight ahead album, man. The way you were playing this." I said, "Not gonna happen." Not nobody. With straight ahead, it's like your vocabulary your jazz vocabulary has to be extensive.
Very avant-garde.
You got to have licks. You got to have lines. You got to be, can't play the same thing over and over again. And the melody is not going to save you half the time, because there's always going to be 2 or 3 choruses where you got to roll. And I told him, I said, "No, I think this is the closest thing to straight ahead that I'm doing." And I really love the version of "We Shall Overcome" that we did. Because
I think it's great.
It swings real good during the ad lib section.
Yeah, I think it's great.
After that, we did a tune called "Funky Dollar Bill," which features my cousin on bass and TK Johnson. Now, the interesting thing about "Funky Dollar Bill," Charles, is that I had done some research and realized that a lot of the tunes on the radio were at 106 beats per minute. So actually, I did a drum beat in the drum machine called Funky 106, and I sent it to TK Johnson up in Boston. I said, "TK, I've seen you do drum tracks just by yourself." I said, "Play a song with this beat and create the actual song, intro, first verse, second verse, all that." So this song was kind of done backwards because the drums were recorded first. Then I added the bass, and she's amazing, man, because she actually heard the intro, she heard the verses, she did the turnaround, she did a vamp, she structured the whole song with no music. And then I added my cousin on bass, T.O. Lee, and then everything else came after that. So they are co-writers on Funky Dollar Bill, and we had fun doing that tune. And then the next tune is for Ramsey. And Marvin Taylor, who is a well-known saxophone player here, and a young brother named Chan Hall, who's an up-and-coming keyboard player that studied with Gates. I've worked with both of them, and I called them up and I said, "Hey, man, why don't we do something to honor Ramsey Lewis?" So Chan came over, and the bass player Wayne Lewis came over, and I actually did the drum track on this, and programmed the drum track and brought them in, and they did bass and keyboards here. Marvin came here. So most of this song, I'm trying to think. Oh, and then Chris Beasley came over and did guitar.
Right.
So all of this was actually, I guess this is probably the one tune that everything was recorded in-house, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, everything on this was percussion, trombone, everything was recorded here. So this is the only song on the album that 100% of it was recorded here in the studio. And it's called For Ramsey, which is dedicated to Ramsey Lewis, who passed last year. And Charles, just, I know we have to keep the time going, but for the sake of knowledge of everybody, in my mind, I say that Ramsey Lewis was really the father of smooth jazz, not Joe Sample, not Grover Washington. Because when you and I were coming up, Ramsey Lewis had Hang On Sloopy and I'm In With the In Crowd, and he had swinging jazz dancing music that people really, really liked in the early mid 60s.
And as a side note to that, Ronnie Coates played drums with him for a while as well.
Yeah, with Carl Lester L, I think also played on.
Right.
Yeah. And Carl is playing on Funky Dollar Bill. Carl is playing the lead guitar on that, on Funky Dollar Bill. So then this next song is Zodiac Sign. And it's really the last song that I had recorded. I had 10 songs recorded, but I wanted 11. And I reached out to John Mitchell, who is, well, no, I didn't reach out. John and I had been talking. John is the son of Tiger Tom Mitchell, a radio pioneer here in Richmond. And he's also the great nephew of John Mitchell from the Daily Planet, or the Richmond Planet, who started one of the first black newspapers in the United States in history. And John Mitchell, the uncle, was the first black elected to the Richmond City Council.
I see.
During Reconstruction. He and Maggie Walker were really good friends. There's some really good stuff to read on the older John Mitchell about him opposing the Robert E. Lee statue before they put it up and all of that. But so John had this tune on tape called Zodiac Sign. And he told me he really thought it needed to have a little go-go, Afro go-go beat. And whenever you start thinking about Afro anything in Richmond, you think of Plunky. And so I reached out to Plunky, and because Plunky and I, like some of the senior citizens like you here in Richmond, Plunky, who does not do a lot of guest appearances, agreed to do this. And on this, I have Plunky, I have Carlita Whitehead, I have Kia Bennett, I have Corey L., the talented vocalist, who is Carl Lester L's son. And Zodiac Sign really came off well. It's different, it's funky, it's Afro funky groove, and I really like that song. And then the last song on the album is the song that changed the direction of the album. As you know, Larry D. Jones passed away last year.
Right.
His wife Shirley passed away a year ago, last week. And Shirley had pancreatic cancer. Shirley and Larry were dear friends of mine. Larry had played on all of my albums, on my previous albums, and I had produced songs for him going back 30 years. Larry and I were very close friends. And Larry, Shirley passed away in April, and Larry, from a broken heart, passed away 6 to 7 months later. He and his wife had been together for 51 years.
Right.
So at the funeral, I did the eulogy, and his nephew, Jay Baxter, sang and did music along with Cora Harvey Armstrong, two fabulous people. So I mentioned to Jay, I said, Jay, we need to do something to honor Larry, your uncle. I tell you who Jay Baxter is, Rose Starr, that used to sing with Stacy and all those other people back in the
way back. Oh yeah.
Well, that's his mother.
Oh really? Now?
Yeah. Jay is Rose Starr's son. So he gets his talent honestly from his mother. Was singing way back when you and I were pups. And and so he gets it honestly. Well, Jay came over and he said, I talked to him, he says, I got a song for you. It's called The Tree of Life. And he came in and we recorded all of this song. So this may be the other tune that's 100% recorded in-house. But he recorded this, and when he first recorded it, there was nothing but piano, and we did his vocal overdub after he played the piano part.
Right.
And Charles, honestly, after we recorded this song, we both cried.
I see.
Because of
the connection,
we both just broke down and cried because we miss Larry so much, and can't believe he's gone.
Yeah.
And, what I did is I originally was just going to do flugelhorn, piano, and trumpet.
Right.
And then I started hearing all this other stuff, and it became an arrangement with saxophones and drums and bass, and there's upright bass on it and electric bass. And actually, the name of the album was going to be Life Got in the Way, from the earlier song that I did. And when I did this song, The Tree of Life with Jay, it changed the trajectory of the album. Because that's why I made it the last song, because it's such a meaningful. What people will find out is that this is not a sad song. It's a song about the reality of the cycle of life, that when our trees, even, the tree of life is all the leaves fall off and it looks like the tree is dead. Mm-hmm. But every spring brings new leaves and the tree continues to grow. And so our family and our life is like that. Our children, our grandchildren, they grow through us. And what Jay was saying is life is inevitable. Things are going to happen. But what you do, your branch, and what you do while you're here, the joy that you bring, and all of what you do at your time on this planet is where your branch is on the tree of life. And I think a lot of people, I use it a lot when I see people losing loved ones, and I send this to them. And in all actuality, it's been on the website as a free download since the album came out. And I tell people, I said, just go download this and maybe hopefully it'll make you feel better because it's a beautiful song. So that's the album, The Tree of Life. That's how we got to that point. There almost more people from the Richmond area are recording on this album probably than any album that's ever been recorded before, based on the names that I've given you so far. And there's still a few people I probably, because I mentioned Carl Lester L, and there are a few other musicians on there, bass players, Ken, EJ, Juan, Wayne. I mean, Wilbert Anderson is playing on and on. He's an area, he's real well-known bass player in the area. And so that's it, Charles. That's the Tree of Life. That's the story.
It's the fact that you got this group of people, this arrangement with those who have known in the business. It's a group of folks that have worked together on a project, a collective.
Yes.
That in itself is a positive thing.
Well, it was a good thing because a lot of these people had not worked together before, and then the fact is, as you know, I'm big into legacy recording.
I'm sure everybody was glad to be involved and be a part of the project. I mean, the thing is, when you can turn around and look at a collective, that's a plus thing.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we operated as separate groups, and everybody was doing their own pursuits or chasing their own dreams as a group. Today, and because of the technology, and we have one of our next episodes is going to be about that technology. Technology allows us to do more collective things or sharing things, and even for those who are not here. I mean, they don't need to be in the same room, don't need to be in the same city, don't even need to be in the same country anymore. And they can contribute to projects as if they were all there because of the technology.
That's true. And Brian Morgan, guitar player who worked with Kashif and Lalo. Brian saw on the internet that I was working on an album. He also worked with SWV, and Brian contacted me and said, "Hey man, I'll play on the song." And I just so happened to have Zodiac signed, and I sent it to him. And within 24 hours, he had sent me guitar parts back.
Okay, what I want you to do right now is tell us where the album is available, what we can do about it, how do we become a part of it, where's the fan club listing, give us the...
804jazz.com/music, or just 804jazz.com, or BillMcGeeMusic.com. You can buy it online. It is available on Spotify, iTunes, all the streaming people. You can go and stream the album, and you can buy the CD with free shipping.
Well, I'll tell you, Bill, I'm glad you got the project done.
Thank you.
It's a very, very good project. I'd like to help promote it and look at I see that T-shirt you got on. You even got your name written on the side of it. I see.
As you see the horn blowing the trees and the leaves and everything else.
Right.
Adolphus Maple, Petey Maple's son, does my graphics, one of my former students.
Well, thank you for being with Let's Talk Music RVA. Take care, Bill. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Charles. God bless, and God bless all these people who played on this album. I truly, truly, truly appreciate it.
Very good.